Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Nikhilesh Satyavarapu, one-stop destination for RPA learnings. So today we have another industry expert. So we are going to discuss in this topic, in this video on one interesting topic. So that is RPA and BPO are the perfect partners. So for this, we will go through on this video. For this, I would like to bring my friend Anurag Upadhyay. So let me give you a quick introduction about Anurag. So Anurag is having around 8 years of experience and working as an senior digital transformation consultant in one of the big four company in India. And he's having versatile experience in RPA Business Analyst and a Business Analyst experience. And he's having very good knowledge on BPO industry. He has been in the industry from 8 years and been worked for many projects. So, thank you so much, Anurag, for coming to this and educating our people. So let me welcome Anurag and we can go ahead with the discussion. Hi, Anurag.
Hi, Nikhilesh.
Hi,
everyone. Hi, thank you, Nikhilesh, for having me here. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege to be a part of your channel. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you so much for your time. So let's then, I think if we are good, then we can start.
Yes.
Sure, Anurag. So, Anurag, let us do this video in interactive way. For example, I will play two roles. First is like a layman. I'm a layman. I don't know anything which you. I am having some questions. So you will explain me. So I will have the answer. I will ask the questions. You will explain me. And in between, I will play some business analyst or some kind of non-RPA candidate who is already in IT. But he want to learn about the RPA or the topic which we are going to discuss. So I will play these two roles. So let's see how it goes. So let's deep dive into the topic. So Anurag, just tell me, like, what is the BPO? So what is BPO industry? So what it is exactly in IT? Many people in non-IT or IT. So here what is BPO? But what they hear and what usually business process outsourcing and business process management completely different. So can you please walk me through what is BPO sector or domain?
Correct. So BPO is business process outsourcing, where one of the part of your company where you talk to the end users is being outsourced to a client to take care of all such I would say queries, or I would say the help where the end users are seeking response from you. So in this industry, the contact centers are set where your outsourced partners deal with the external world. And with the advent of technology, this industry is growing well. India is having dominance in this market. Around 56% of the world's BPO market is with India. And India, for its own reason, has the capabilities with which India is having that dominance. The one is I would say, the cheaper workforce, the cheaper labor, which India is providing, is one of the prominent reasons. Second, I would say, is the highly skilled workforce. Indians, are considered extremely diligent with taking care of the time and the SLAs. So this particular thing is also being appreciated, and India is enjoying its dominance. Other countries are also there which are coming up with their own expertise. So Philippines and Malaysia, I would say, are coming closely in this race and having around market share of around 12 to 15%. But then with pandemic things are also changing, and new countries and new setups are being taken care by organizations in Egypt and Colombia and Mexico. So these countries are also pacing up their introduction in this BPO market.
Got it. That's really great insights. Even I don't know. So thanks for that. So Anurag, so do you think like we have RPA in our BPO sector as well? So are we doing the processes in BPO, and how, what kind of processes, or how RPA in BPO industry is being, as per your
All
experience?
right, correct. So the thumb rule of RPA remains the same, be it any industry, right? The process should be repetitive, high volume, with no human judgment, no intelligence, correct? It applies to BPO industry as well. So the prime use cases will always be the same, like back office operations, the reconciliation cases where match one set of information with another. The cases are same, but this industry is a bit different. I'll tell you how. This industry is a bit sensitive industry because you are ultimately dealing with the end users, and with your response, with your action, your reputation, your recognition is at stake. Correct. With the advent of technology and it's growing so fast, I would say everybody has an account of it on social media platforms and on especially on Twitter. I would say Twitter, and uh, that is one thing where anybody can go to any platform and talk about your product, and if they're not happy with your service, they will say bad things about you, and then high level escalations will happen. Your management will put their head and eye into the issue. That thing will happen. So this industry is different. So whatever cases you are picking, you must be cognizant of the fact that my this simple action will give an reaction to this particular case, which might affect the end user. Correct. So that is something which defines and differs this industry from the other industries. So accordingly, the use cases which you pick have to be categorized or classified based on their sensitivity level also. Correct. So if I can talk about a use case which should be always be picked up at the very start is those L1 cases, or the cases where you provide resolution on the very first attempt. These are called FCR, first call resolutions or first chat resolutions. Correct. So with FCR case, you will be able to identify that this particular process doesn't require much hands-on work or much analysis to provide response. For example, a person calls your help desk setup to reset the password, right? And in this activity, your agent is just passing a link to the person that put your click on forget password, and simple step where no intelligence is being used. Now, if such kind of process, which are FCRs, are taken care by the bot or RPA or even say chat bot, the entire volume which your help desk was taking care will be reduced. And then you can put that put those FTs, full-time employees, into something constructive, something productive, which will actually create value in their life also and to the organization also. Correct? So those cases must be identified well in advance if you are going to pick RPA use cases. Then they may differ. They may differ. But this has to be the key thing when you get into an RPA use case identification.
So let me go this way. So we're talking in this pandemic. So how does TPA industry been like within the RPA or outside the RPA, before pandemic or after the pandemic? How it's been? What's your experience in it?
Okay. This BPO setup is also affected the way other industries are getting affected because of pandemic. And the challenges which I feel are more related to BPO are the mobilization of IT infrastructure with respect to the work from home model, right? In an offline setup, you have all those things related to compliance intact. But at home, those audits, those compliance, those regulatory checks are not there. Right. So setting up that kind of infrastructure is a difficulty, and that's one challenge which I feel is there. Second is the restriction of clients on some of the processes which might be sensitive, for example, banking or insurance data, right? For those processes, the clients are still not trusting this work from home model, and some of the employees are called to the office, correct?
Right.
So those things are still there where this industry has to grow, and with the fintech disruptions and with IT being the base of this entire industry, which is going at a very fast level, I think that it is going to help and remove all these challenges going forward in a year or two. And third is also a third challenge which I feel post pandemic is about the mobilization of people with the total amount of workforce required in a setup. With lockdowns coming, in every second month or third month, the transportation is getting affected. People are not reaching there on time, or whatever case is the digital or the workforce which is required to take care of your entire system is not adequate these days. So that is also one challenge which I face.
Okay. So, see, when we see, for example, right now for RPA, the identification of process for any industry will be the same which you discussed earlier. Okay, so the repetitive, all these things. So, let me go this way. When we are identifying any process from a BPO industry, so the identification of the process or the prioritization of the process or the initial process assessment we do. So is it something different from the general model, or do you apply any other techniques here, or how you go with when you are taking a BPO process for the RPA? Like
This is more, I would say, similar in nature. Yeah, this I would say is similar in nature, because as a BA, your prime role is to gather requirements, and then in your mind you have to identify whether this is an RPA doable activity or not. Correct? Because you understand the basics, whether it is taking care of repetitive work only, or it is requiring human experience there, right? So that classification has to be there. But before that, you will need to build a database of all the issues which are being reported to the client or the agent's office.
right,
I worked with a client where when I got into that system, I first tried having discussions with the key people there of each of the departments. For example, there are 10 departments. I had a word with 10 people, the key people, and tried gauging where they feel is a scope of RPA, or where they feel that their agents are putting more energy without much value addition. Then I think a database is created uh, with which you will be able to understand this is the variation, this is the exception with which the kind of issues which you will have to take care may vary. So second thing is building a database. And then third thing is about the classification of all those issues basis on the kind of analysis is being done in there. For example, if that case is just about, like I said, password reset or any access management thing, or something where you are just doing nothing at all other than just passing information and being a middleman, then you have to pick those cases separately. So once you will have a database of L1 cases, which are taken care by your first level of agents, the L1 agents, you will be able to understand that L1 agent take care of 80% of such kind of work, such mundane work, such repetitive work, where there is no value addition. Now you get into that database.
okay,
Now you deep dive, understand, okay, this particular process can be taken care by what? Because for this, the agent goes to this portal, just logs in, goes to a public inquiry, checks the information by putting data there, and after seeing that response, the same is being passed to the end user.
and you
So this is very well uh, doable by the bot, taken care by the RPA. Correct.
got it.
So that way you need to proceed. And there are multiple benefits of building that database. Why? Because it's not just RPA. RPA is evolving, right? Intelligent automation is there, integrated automation is there. So your organization will come up with multiple initiatives.
Right.
Today they might be going with RPA. Then tomorrow they might say that chatbot is required. Then next day they might say that any AI-enabled initiative is required. But the kind of issues which you face will be same. And if you have a database readily available, you can use the database as a guiding pro forma for other initiatives.
Correct.
Correct. So if you are a BA and in this industry, then you must be well equipped with the kind of issues your team is facing. And then based on the bifurcation on that data, you must understand that, okay, this is an RPA doable activity, and this is where I need AI solution. This is where I need to check how sentiment will be captured. Because like I told Nikhilesh, this industry is very sensitive, right? Your customers might be mailing you or writing some, some negative things that I'm highly, frustrated with the kind of setup you have. You're pathetic, such keywords, such negative keywords. That should highlight, that should, bring on the surface that there is a problem with one of the employees, one of the processes, one of the process or whatever. But that should be highlighted, because if you don't take care of the sentiments of your customers, no, after a point they will go to Twitter and they will write bad things. And bad word of mouth in this 2021 world is highly, highly dangerous. Because social media is all around, and with one post on one particular platform, it might be circulated here and there, and your firm organization will be in trouble. Correct. So you need to sense, am I able to gauge whether the sentiments which are being coming from those people are correct, genuine or not, and what action I'm taking to take care of them. So this is how you will bring in AI into it, sentiment analysis, correct? And then this is how you will make your entire solution comprehensive.
So here, let me look into it. See, for example, right now, the digital transformation is coming, the hyper automation is there, sentiment, we are creating sentimental analysis also. So how the BA should have this proper knowledge. For example, I am a BA, I'm already working in normal automation scripts and automation RPA things. But how BA should, for example, how BA should be educated himself to get all this. For example, tomorrow he may get this use case, but we don't know. We have already sentimental analysis within our technology. So what kind of suggestions you give to a BA or the candidate who is taking the requirements and all to pick up this solution and give the solution in a right away, right? He don't know, but how he need to improve these things as per your experience.
Okay. So Nikhilesh, if you are in this industry, in this RP industry, in this automation industry, then you have to be nimble and agile. You have to keep yourself abreast with the latest happening in the market. What are the emerging trends? And this is how the mindset should be. Because if you are able to understand the new trends, you will be able to understand how this knowledge can be put into action. Correct? So the very first point is about gaining knowledge, acquiring knowledge by reading multiple stuff on internet, going to any of the platforms, Academy, UiPath Academy, understanding how this new technology is evolving. So very first thing is gaining knowledge, because with your knowledge, you will be able to have meaningful discussions with the clients, with the stakeholders, correct? Because as a BA, your prime role is to act as a middleman between two parties, client and developers. You are right at the epicenter, correct? So if your client shares a problem that this is where, my boss, sent me a Twitter screenshot that this particular product is being, not right, and this particular process is creating problem. Now you will have to understand with your knowledge that how and which technology will be able to work on this and help on this.
Got it. So you are telling this is very important. Good point. But like you were telling, the BA should be open-minded to learn the new technologies, and he should not be always sticking into the computer and work on it. No, he should come out of it and let the new technologies understand, and then only he can go to new client or any use case coming in. Then only he can deliver the use case in right away to give the solution without any stopping with it. Because it may affect even the customer as well, right? We have already solution. The BA who is sitting into the right away to the client, he is not able to propose the solution, right? So okay, so that is also very good point. So See,
And that is why correct.
when you are going to a customer who is not known of RPA and you are going for a requirement, usually you face these challenges. So how you will take the requirement? For example, you want an RPA requirement, but the customer is not aware of RPA and all. So what kind of challenges you do face when you taking the requirements or the initial process assessment, and how do you face it? Like, do you have any experience or any suggestions for that?
Correct. So Nikhilesh, the very first thing when you are dealing with a client or a customer who doesn't have knowledge of RPA or automation is to have a word with them like you also don't have knowledge. This is very interesting. Why? Because if the person is not able to tell you clearly, because he might think that you have extreme knowledge and he doesn't have knowledge, he might not be able to open up. I worked with a client, he didn't know anything about that. But when I started having discussions like a layman, I was able to capture the pain points in a very different way, in a very peculiar way, where I didn't want him to interrupt that, sir, this is where you can apply it. So the very first thing is to listen to his problems very carefully and like a layman so that he can, put his entire energy in telling you whether, and instead of, being, in a pressure that he's more intelligent, more capable, more aware. So that's one thing. So make a very friendly connect with the client and the customer and understand the things and try to talk in a very simple manner. That is very, very important. And then when you are able to gauge everything, when you understood that this is where the problem is, then you try to make that person bamboozle by some of the use cases or demos. Because this is how you will be able to leverage technology in a very faster way. If you try to show him to-be process maps that this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, instead of that, go and see with which of the use case you can relate his problem. And if you or any of your team members have worked on a use case which you can show as a citation and in a demo mode, then the person will say, wow, this is what I want. In a quick flash of seconds, the work is done. You have to make his mind blow.
Right.
Then the kind of confidence and the kind of vigor he will feel with such solutions, he himself will go and talk to his leadership. Sir, let's do it.
Got it.
So this is my experience.
Wonderful. Wonderful thoughts you have given. Even I didn't explore this way, but it was a really nice thought. So how we need to impress the opposite SME and how we can get his knowledge and even the use cases, whatever you want. Right. So
Correct. Absolutely.
It's really good. That is good. And see, do you another question? So, do you think the BA should have the development knowledge, or if it is not, then how he should address the? How he will talk to the development team or the customers or something. Development and the architect is speaking something. BA don't know what is they are speaking, and BA should address the customer. So, what kind of suggestions you do? For example, the BA is not having development
The
knowledge.
question is primarily centered around BA having technical knowledge of development. Correct. So, if you are in this space, then we must thank these technology firms that they are thinking about business users. Correct. They want people like us, people like leaders of us, managers, to be a part of this journey, and that is how they are here with no code, low code development. Correct.
Right.
So it is very, very, very important that you get your hands dirty with at least Studio X.
Okay.
This is for us.
Right.
If you have to make a very meaningful discussion with the developer, then you must have a mindset of thinking like him. Correct. You must know how and where to which particular field he will drag and drop. If it has moved and evolved to drag and drop, that's for you. That's for a BA. So I would definitely urge all the BAs to get their hands dirty with all the no code, low code solutions if they can deep dive and get into technology and learn development, it's an add-on. It's a big add-on. Your primary forte might not be development, but if you have knowledge of development, how it actually happens, you will be able to create a lot of value in your profile and to the client and to the people with whom you're working, with the developers, right? Because they will have less difficulty in making you understand. So I would definitely urge all the BAs to get their hands dirty and get equipped with knowledge of at least no-code, low-code development tools.
So when you're saying the low code no code platform, so can you suggest us any platform which is available, as you mentioned Studio X? So what I mean, Studio X can be the BA can use it, or can he start learning easy? So how you give the suggestion for that?
Definitely, a BA can use a BA. Might, if the BA is not supposed to work as a developer in a firm, it is okay. But there are n number of things where a BA can help and ease his life. It could be anything. It could be creating a task of filing routine attendance, a weekly attendance. You can put your bot in action on your own, and that level of work you can pass it to bot. You can outsource. We're talking about BPO industry, so RPA also is an outsourcing. I would say technology, because you are actually outsourcing your work to robots, the bots. So if you are a BA and if you don't have the rights to work as a developer in your firm, that shouldn't stop you. You must evolve and at least try to conduct all these things, the basic things which you feel can be taken care by the bots. So definitely, please go ahead and utilize in your life.
That's one more suggestion. Okay, so start exploring at least Studio X and local
Sure.
platform. That will be really
Absolutely
added advantage. Then even I will start learning that soon. Thank you so much. And Anurag, see, let's talk about something about testing. See, in the RPA life cycle also, we do have one more important stage for testing. So when the testing is happening, how the BA should be active, proactive or active. For example, the bot is not developed by BA, but he knows the requirement, right? So what kind of suggestion you give to the BA, like to do to achieve the testing results well?
Okay.
Or what kind of roles or responsibility he will have in the testing?
Correct. In the testing phase, the business analyst should act like a whistleblower.
Okay.
Whistleblower. Why? Because if you don't call out the dependencies, the problems, and don't highlight, there is a challenge. If you see that there is a dependency and the kind of action which should be there is not there, please shout out loud. This is how you will be able to manage a project well, a process or the digital transformation well. Because as a BA, you have a view of the client also, what client is thinking. For example, if there is an access which is supposed to be provided, okay, and the client knows that the access is with someone who is not from our department, who is from a different department, and there is a rigorous process, rigorous follow-up which is required to be done, then only things will be sorted and then access will be provided. And then during the testing, it came to know that access is not there and the bot just stopped there. Something like that, where you are aware, please shout out loud. Please let people know that there is a problem. So as a BA, it is very, very important that you be cautious of all the upcoming risks, right? Of upcoming challenges. And you try to sort it out with your coordination and communication ability, with which you are actually working as a BA. So the primary role is to coordinate and communicate with other stakeholders, and then pulling out the right information to support their testing and working with the developers and the testers so that the testing work or the entire project can be completed well in time, keeping a check on the time, cost, and quality. So BA as a whistleblower.
Yes. One word answer. That's really good. And when coming to this one, like how the BA and the customer, new customer, existing customer, whatever may be, how the BA should maintain the relation to a customer. Because if the customer is not there, we are not there, right? So how the customer relation between the BA and what kind of tips you give?
Correct, correct. So, Nikhilesh, I personally feel that the role of a BA is also to build relationships, not just with the client, but also with the developers. But it's a relationship building profile, I would say. Because as a BA, you have to talk a lot, talk with a lot of people, with the clients, their clients of clients, end users, correct? And then your internal
Technical
team
team.
members, technical managers, scrum masters, so many other people, correct? So it is very important that you build a relationship, not just with the client, with everyone. Because if you are able to build right relationships with people, it will be easy for you to get sign-offs. And you know how sign-offs, create trouble.
Right.
People don't understand it, right at the start of the process, the project, opportunity assessment, and then going forward, it creates problems. So it is very important that you build good relationship with people, understand their pain points very well, right? And then map them with the solution. And then keeping them there throughout the journey. It happens usually that the client is, communicated at the start, and then the internal discussions are happening with internal developers and, BAs. I'm not saying that you pull client in every email of yours, but regularly you must keep in touch with the client, making sure he is well updated about the progress. So emails where you feel the client should be there, please try to bring him, so that he's there in the ecosystem while this is happening. So that inclusion is very, very important, and that will build relationship, because this is how the client will know, okay, Nikhilesh is valuing me, he's keeping me in the email chain, so he's providing me regular updates. I can regular email status updates, weekly status reports, or personally talking to them and keeping a 5 minutes, 10 minutes time in a week on a Friday, 5:30 p.m. You just say, sir, 10 minutes of yours. Just try to have a word. Mark a recurring calendar, mark a recurring meeting. This is how you will build relationship with people. And the more you will stay in the visibility of the client, the more trust the client will bestow on you. And then you will be able to gauge what the client actually expects and how the solution going, and what exactly I have to tell to my developer that this is where we need to improve. This is where the scope of the improvement is. So that balance. So technical team, because usually technical team and clients work in silos, correct? You are there as a bridge. So you know what is going in client's mind, and you know what is developer thinking. You try to map that mental mapping is what you have to do as a BA. Thank you.
So I think we have covered everything. One final thing I just want to bring here, like, for any final tips to the BA for addressing a BPO industry, or what kind of tips or suggestions when he is addressing the BPO industry. So how you want to proceed with them?
All right. So tips for BA. Tip number one for BA is, you know, get out of your comfort zone. You know, you cannot work as a BA being introvert. You have to step out and pull up your socks to talk to so many people, because this is your main role, to manage the project. Because a BA is not just, I think a BA is a project manager. This is what I feel. Because you have to be there in each and every step of the project, and you have to wear multiple hats. Because at the start of the project, you are gathering the requirement. So you are a BA, and then going forward in the second phase, you build relationship with the client. You try to kickstart the meetings, kickstart the engagement, bringing both the teams together. So you are a coordinator. Then the project goes, you take scrum meeting, huddles, everything. So you're acting as a project manager. So you are wearing multiple hats during the action. And then you have to talk a lot. You have to discuss multiple ideas, brainstorm. So all those things you have to take care. So get out of your comfort zone, get in the sweet spot of that client and the technical team. So definitely coordination and communication you need to work upon. That is the thumb rule.
Yes.
Second thing, like I said, be a whistleblower, be very vigilant, cautious, what is happening there in the project. If you know what client is thinking, try to map it with the developers, the tech teams thinking. Okay, that's the second thing. And third thing, if you are in the BPO industry, you have to be very vigilant how and which process you are going to automate. If ever you get a chance, talk to the end users who are using the product. Because when I was working with the client of the BPO industry, I put my time into having a discussion with people who are using our products. What do they think? What they think is where we are lacking. All such things where we can improve. Direct interaction. So if you can, I'm not saying you should always, but if you can do it, please try to get connected with the end users and see where is the scope of improvement, and then pass the same information to the client, understand with the client, and then the client will definitely understand, okay, this is the problem and this is what we should do. Then you evolve from BA as a consultant. Okay. Then you say, okay, sir, this is what we can do. Because you have knowledge, you have done research of the industry. You will say, sir, can we put sentiment analysis there? He said, okay, why not? We have to do it. Then you bring in business. Correct? So you are a salesperson also. You are not just a BA. You are more than a BA. Correct? So think like that. Your mindset should be, thinking as a project manager, thinking as a business development person. And I think this role is way bigger the way.
Open opportunity.
Correct. So definitely, third tip is about the mindset. So expand your horizon and think like a BA, project manager, consultant, sales guy, as and when required. That's it.
So I think wonderful. So we have covered everything from start to end. So it was really wonderful, fruitful discussion. So it is really insightful. I think we are good with this topic. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your sharing your experiences, ideas, thoughts, tips, whatever. So thank you so much. Let's meet in the another session. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhilesh. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Yes.